The sky was heavy with grey clouds, pressing down on the vast gated estate that overlooked the entire community. Seattle rain tapped softly against a nearby window, a steady rhythm that only deepened the stillness of the mansion. The air felt thick, weighted with the kind of silence that comes after a storm. But before another begins, Danielle sat frozen on the edge of her bed, her fingers trembling as she clutched the pregnancy test in her hand. The tiny blue lines glared back at her with the certainty of fate. She told herself for weeks that she was feeling off due to stress, but the truth grew undeniable, swelling inside her with every heartbeat. And with it, the memory of that night returned, his lips on hers, his strong hands anchoring her against the storm of her sorrow. It was Michael, not just any man, her dead husband's brother. She pressed her hand to her stomach and whispered, "What have I done?" The night she buried Robert, she had been consumed by loss. He had been her world. When the condolences faded and the house turned quiet, Michael came by to check on her. He carried the same thick dark hair, similar build, the same piercing eyes that ran in their family, but softened by something Robert never had: gentleness. He had sat with her, listened, let her cry into his chest until she could no longer breathe. And when the silence between sobs turned into a kiss, neither of them stopped. The guilt afterward was immediate, yet there had been no regret. Now, weeks later, the truth lived inside her. Danielle wasn't ready to face him, but Michael had a way of showing up when she needed him most. That evening, as the sun dipped lower, she heard the familiar knock at her door. "Danielle." His voice was deep, low, tinged with concern. Hearing his voice speak her name caused a burning jolt of electricity to flow through her that she never felt with Robert, and she knew they had loved each other. Now, she wasn't sure what this was. Perhaps hormones. Placing her fingers on the doorknob in a slow churn, she opened the door. His gaze searched hers, reading what she didn't say. His broad shoulders filled the doorway, his presence both comforting and dangerous. "You've been avoiding me," he said quietly. "I had to," she replied, her voice breaking. She felt there was no reason to delay giving him the news. "Michael, I'm pregnant." His eyes widened, flickering between shock and something deeper. He stepped inside, shutting the door behind him. For a moment, silence stretched. "It's mine," he whispered. She nodded, tears pooling in her eyes. His hand ran over his moustache as though buying time. Then, with a quiet steadiness, he asked, "Do you regret it?" Danielle swallowed hard. "I don't know what to feel. But I do know something else," she said more seriously, peering more intensely at Michael. "Robert's death wasn't an accident." Michael's eyes snapped to hers, sharp and alert. "Why would you say that?" "Because you knew things only the driver should have known," she said, her voice trembling but resolute. "The night he died, you said the curve was too sharp for him to handle. But the police never released that detail. How did you know?" His jaw tightened, his gaze flickering with shadows. For the first time, Danielle saw the full extent of his grief plastered all over his face. "Because I was in the car with him," he whispered, her breath painfully caught in her throat. "So, you lied to the police. It's a closed case." Few remains tied to one body was recovered from the crash site. "Danielle," he said, stepping closer, his voice urgent, "you have to understand, Robert was my older brother. I loved him dearly, but he was reckless. He owed dangerous people money. I tried to protect him, to protect you. I was going with him to pay off more loan sharks, but I didn't know they had already got to him first. It quickly became clear he wasn't going to slow down. I could hear his foot frantically mashing the brakes, and the car seemed to speed up, couldn't stop. Looking away, extreme sadness overtook his voice as he remembered the loud noise of the crash. Then he began again. When he saw that I was able to crawl away, he told me to go and that he was sorry. As you know, the car caught fire just as I was crawling away." His voice trailed off, too pain-struck to speak another word. Her heart broke for Robert and ached for Michael. Danielle painfully put the pieces together. It explained a lot. Why Robert was always so angry in the last year of his life, when his parents cut him off for making a plethora of poor financial decisions with a multi-billion-dollar family business. Her chest heaved as the truth unraveled before her. She never could have conceived that a man like Robert, who still received an abundant stipend from his family trust, even after being cut off, still felt he had to borrow money. The two brothers were always different, and now she was beginning to understand the contrast between the two men. Michael had also demanded to be cut off many years ago, But before he saved his money and used his inherited wealth to build his own successful multi-million-dollar businesses. Looking at him now, she truly saw the tortured man behind the wealth. "You could have died too," she said, wincing at the horrid thought. He flinched. "I didn't kill him, but I wish I could have taken his place." "Why?" she asked, surprised at his confession. "You'd still have Robert," he said. "I know how much you loved each other." She looked at him for a long time. "It's true, we loved each other. We would have even continued to settle into the happiness we had. But honestly, my heart has been growing apart." She wouldn't tell Michael then that even before Robert died, her mind would drift to random thoughts of him. One night when she made love to Robert, she almost cried out Michael's name, something that would have provoked Robert's growing abusive behavior. The room spun, grief and betrayal tangling inside her. But beneath it, an undeniable truth pulsed. She had felt safer with Michael than she had with anyone, even Robert. He reached for her hand, his eyes softening. "I never wanted things to get so complicated, for us to get so complicated, but it did, and now." His other hand brushed gently over her stomach. "Now there's no undoing what we are." The silence was heavy, broken only by the sound of her unsteady breathing. Danielle turned away, staring out the window at the fading light. She remembered Robert's laughter, his charm, and also his temper, his disappearances, the nights she cried alone. She remembered the emptiness after his death, and the warmth Michael had brought when she thought she would never feel whole again. Her heart warred with itself. Love and anger and hope. Finally, she spoke, her voice soft but steady. "If I let you in, Michael, there's no turning back. This isn't a secret we can bury. People will talk, and I'll never forgive you if you fail us." He stepped closer, his presence grounding her. "Then I'll spend every day proving I won't." Slowly, she turned to face him. The weight of grief still pressed heavy on her chest, but in his eyes she saw something she had never truly seen in Robert's: unwavering devotion. Her lips parted, trembling, and before she could stop herself, she whispered, "I hate that I want you, need you, but I think I always have," she said in a lower tone. Michael's hand cupped her cheek, tilting her face toward his. "Then hate me, Danielle, but don't deny what is between us." Their lips met, slow at first, then desperate, tangled with grief, guilt, and something dangerously close to love, washing away the last of her resistance. Michael was near tears himself. He wouldn't tell her then how he had always loved her from the moment he first saw her, but didn't have the courage 5 years ago to ask her out. His brother, Robert, did. Every time he saw them kiss, he had learned how to deal with feeling sick. When they finally pulled apart, his forehead rested against hers. "We'll face this together," he said. Danielle closed her eyes, her hand instinctively moving to her stomach. "Michael, I love you," she said slowly with revelation. "I think I have always loved you both. I'm so sorry that Robert had to die for me to admit it." "It's all right, my love," Michael said, finally letting the tears fall. "We have each other, and no one can take that away from us," he said steadily and confidently, as he pulled her in for another kiss. This one deeper, passionate, meaningful. They would continue to grieve, heal, and face the world together, with the second chance that life had placed into their hands. Which part of this story connected with you the most? Tell us in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you'll be here when the next story arrives. Until next time.